Stray is the honorary winner of the Make Your Dog Freak Out While Playing a Game award. It's also one of the best experiences I've had in a long time. This low-key game is deceptively enigmatic, a perfect storm of indirect storytelling and gorgeous visuals, all presented with the steez of a veteran development team. It's also their first game. This video is a full exploration of Stray and doubles as a thinly veiled excuse to gush over my second favorite title of 2022. So, spoilers ahead, I was lucky enough to play this game blind, and you should too. I've always been a sucker for walking simulators. There's nothing quite like vibing out to excellent scenery as you unwind from a long day. When I first kicked into this game, I figured that's what I was in for. Nameless cats wandering through some expertly crafted environments somewhere between Journey and Abzu. You can jump around pipes, cuddle with the homies, they even have a dedicated button for mewing. Simple, right? Wrong! I was a fool when I thought that. The beautiful, overgrown facility slips through your fingers as you tumble deep into the belly of the sewer. With all the comforts of your clouder stolen from you, Stray makes its first play. This is the Dead City. Those brilliant slivers of natural sunlight have been cut down with the crushing weight of this underground dwelling. Full stop. You want to know the exact moment I was sold on this game? Once you scramble up onto your first rooftop, a camera darts over to you. Naturally, I felt inclined to meow at it.
It is a little something for everyone.
Like untying a ball of knots, this is the first step to unraveling Stray's complex story. They wordlessly guide you through back alleys and rooftops alike. The flow of the city is so unbelievably polished that you never feel lost, especially once you realize that you aren't alone. You don't have the context for this yet, but rest assured, none of this is good news. This chase sequence gives us a perfect opportunity to talk about the first strong element in this game, the lighting. Darting around corridors cast these brilliant shades of blue clashing against the splotchy red veins of the infested city. This culminates with an interior escape route, giving the robotic ambience a chance to point us in the right direction. Though I'm not sure if we should listen, someone had the absolute gall to put a toilet in their bedroom. Once you locate the lonely signal, you bring a program back to life. This is B12, a robot designed to be a scientist's assistant and named after my favorite shot. All of a sudden, this abstract feeling of just vibing out as a cat is given context through the mouth of a robot. This game trusted you enough to get through 2 opening sections before it began threading the story together. A few moments later, you find your first bipedal creature. Dang, this guy's a coward! And a snitch! It's only here in the slums that you get an inkling of how massive this game's scope truly is. Those bad little buggies we saw earlier are called Zerks. They force these citizens into the walled-off section of the city, breathing another huge breath into the narrative. They introduce this amazing layer of social interaction, whether it's finding energy drinks to barter with or working through a chain of items to find a necessary key. You are actively using your platforming and observational skills to accomplish your goals. This makes learning the lore of the land intrinsically interesting. So much detail is presented to you just through visual cues, only made that much better when you actually speak to these androids. Even with how dire the city appears, almost everyone has this positive attitude. The stronger you establish yourself, the friendlier they greet you. A huge highlight for me is Monique the musician. They somehow don't know a single song and need you to bring them any music sheet you find along your way. While the storyline has you bobbing and weaving through these ridiculously detailed houses, the side quest like this has you checking out every nook and cranny you can find, naturally letting you appreciate the environment. And as much as the jumping and dashing feels great to pull off, they don't want you to plow through this game, offering so many of these little pauses to remind you that you are, in fact, a cat. Scratching on the trees and the carpets, knocking things over for no reason, and my personal favorite, finding a cozy little spot to take a nap. Eventually, you'll link up with my main man Momo, once a member of an outside exploration crew turned shut-in after losing all communication with his squad. He also owns the worst poster I have ever seen. Momo is a perfect example of the identity these robots hold. All we really know is that the city once towered from the might of human achievement, science progressing to a point where most everyday tasks could be accomplished by the mechanical. In the effort to improve their abilities, we accidentally gave them sentience. Now with the mysterious absence of humanity, the bots simply continue as they were programmed to. You give that a couple hundred years and history turns into legend. Simple actions like bartending or painting become mantras. Stories of the people who once gave these machines lives are held in the same reverence as the divine. So when you look at someone like Momo with his bathrobe and conical hat, this isn't just the designers thinking he needed something cool to wear, it's a reflection of the culture these robots abide. Now don't forget, we as the cat don't care about any of this. The only thing on our mind is getting back to our pack, and Momo is our best shot at doing so. We'll need to reactivate the radio tower to regain contact with his crew. This ascension is mostly the game trusting us to think ahead about how we can pass the Zerg safely, as well as giving us a better idea of how destructive these parasites are. Once the tower roars to life, we establish contact with the broskies, giving Momo newfound motivation to continue his quest. Just look at how motivated this guy is. Slow down there, champ. We're gonna need to go through the sewers to reach them. One slight problem is that it's absolutely crawling with Zerks. We'll need to find a way to defend ourselves if we don't fancy becoming dinner. Catching an upgrade to open a path forward is nothing new, but Stray ties the entire experience so deeply to the story that I really want to go over how intricate this section is. We just faced multiple sections where our only option was to run away from hundreds of these guys. We learned the path ahead would be unbeatable without some way to attack, but instead of blankly establishing another side objective where we need to find some item, they introduce another member of the city who thinks our quest is foolish, warning us that we're going to die. His harsh words come from a difficult past. He saw the same ambition in his father, and while working on his objective, he went outside the safety of the city and didn't come back. This crushed Seamus, leaving him alone in a cramped apartment in the darkest corner of the lowest city of the world. We are undeterred, sneaking into his house to find any clues his father may have left. This leads to a clever bit of environmental puzzling, using the clocks to unlock a keypad and hilariously revealing that half of this tiny townhouse Seamus lived his entire life in is dedicated to a secret lab that his father never told him about. It's in here that we learn that not only is Seamus's father still alive, but has the exact thing we need to get through the sewers. He hastily takes us back to the last place he knew his father traveled to, bringing us to Dead End. This is a return to the barren sections of the city, but brought to a chokehold by the landscape, slowly ramping the difficulty of these chase and traversal sections. With a bit of slick puzzling, we meet with the doctor. He was able to make it out this far with a defluxer, but trapped himself in the outskirts after blowing a fuse. A little search later, and we get our hands on a brand new flashlight. This ultraviolet death beam can pop any dingus with a sunlight allergy, but uses so much power that shots are brief and take a while to reload. They had us go through so many daring sections of dodging Zerks and planning our routes around sketchy areas just to make the act of blasting these little dudes so incredibly satisfying. And that feeling is brought to a shattering crescendo by using the beam to escort the doctor home, reuniting him with Seamus. The gameplay is in perfect harmony with the story. By one swift move of Stray's hand, we engage with the people around us and grow stronger and wiser with every step. This game really makes you feel like a cat. With a newfound taste for violence, we meet up with Momo and set sail for the sewers. Around these parts, you'll find these rumbling bubbles out and about. Don't worry about it.
Worry about it!
A beautifully dynamic boat section asks you to take part by departing. You gotta pull levers and zap itchy areas, all the good stuff. One last gate blocks our way when tragedy strikes. The path can only be opened manually, meaning Momo must hold the door and miss out on accomplishing his quest. He asks us to find Balthazar and Clementine, making sure to tell them he was brave. He forgets we cannot speak. This place is the worst, but in the best kind of way. Narrow hallways, pulsing nests of zerks, moist organic matter matting all the corners. You love to hate to see it. These operating sections have that classic Half-Life vibe. Hold up. Yeah, much better.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
All this intricate metal is fun to platform through while still making sense in a massive industrial kind of way. The good news is we found the right way forward. The bad news is our little buddy overheats, killing our only attack and forcing us to scramble on out of there. I love how the sewer sways from the purely mechanical to dense nests of parasitic pulp. Once we catch our breath, we nudge our little buddy back to life. Luckily for us, we got a beautiful view on the horizon. Ant Village. It's like those little treetop sections in DKC, but this time instead of rats, you got robots. Before we dive into the spot, let's take a moment to talk about our essential buddy, B12. After we brought them out of stasis, their entire hard drive was wiped. Luckily for us, these glowing spots allow B12 to regain a handful of memories. They even catalog each collectible sequentially so that you can freak out when you miss one. I love this game. Walking up to the village shows us a machine, bringing B12 to a grand revelation. They weren't the robotic assistant to a scientist. They were the scientist. Remembering that they were once organic shatters something in B12. You almost immediately find another memory, only to be met with this response. You normally see this denial of feature in horror games, but they use this honestly relatable sentiment to further our understanding of B12 as a character. It's this kind of careful storytelling that makes our buddy more than just a flashlight that tells us the story. He's an actual partner with feelings. While he takes a break to process all that, let's talk about the brand new environment. After the darkness of the slums and the rotting hue of the sewers, coming to this bright village spun around pipes is a blast of fresh air. The natural lighting brings a totally different aspect to this town. Everything feels far more casual, lounging on couches or playing chess. Ant Village is comprised of robots that seek more out of life than the squalor of the slums. Twisting to the top of this tubular refuge brings us to Balthazar. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Z-Man is tapped into the mainframe. I love the idea of being wired to the internet as a form of transcendental meditation. Trust me, there's no peace here. It looks like Clementine has a plan to escape to the outside. All we know is she's currently in a place called Midtown, as well as a picture containing her address. I don't want to leave here before pointing out how dummy sick Balthazar looks. They capitalize so hard on the modular aesthetic and really make the most out of how a robotic religion would play out. You also have all these fortune cats laying around the place, and I just cannot stop staring at them. It's just mesmerizing. Ascending the pipes brings us to the subway, allowing us to merge into Midtown, and once again, if you could even believe it, the vibe completely changes. I want to touch on how amazing this is from a blind perspective. Our opening was wordless, surrounded by nature and cats. That's great. We'll just have a little adventure with a pack of cats doing silly kitty things. I wouldn't really ask for much more out of a new indie team. Then you're at the base of a giant doomed city. Totally fine. Explore the city by ourselves and work to reconnect with our crew. A nice surprise from a little game. We are now hours deep in the philosophy of mindful robots trapped in a city designed by a race of humans that have long since left them with nothing but empty purpose, exploring these insanely intricate environments and dodging hundreds of hordes of parasitic bugs in hellish sewers, all while keeping the intimate story and the intrinsic motivation to escape the bounds of an empty life, not by the hands of your creator, but through manifesting your own destiny, which was programmed into your hardware. This game asks so many esoteric and touching questions, but it's totally fine without answering any of them. You can watch people gaze into the artificial starscape while trying to get a bag off your head. But that whole sentiment is 100% blown away when you realize everything we just went through. That was just Act 1. All these personal moments are dashed once we step foot in the bustling metropolis of Midtown. Gloves off. This is where the environment shines the brightest. The beautiful crawling buildings, rusted neon signs, everyone buzzing across the streets, living their own lives. A masterful place to peruse. Just look at this city center. Look at this friendly cowboy. This is what we came here for. Strolling into some section housing brings us to Clementine, an outlaw of the city and our best bet at breaking free. We're gonna need an energy source to power the subway to take us to the final rung. We got a guy on the inside that'll help us relieve a factory of its atomic battery. Blazer's plan is to disguise himself as a worker to get inside. I have no idea why he thinks a cat is best suited at finding him clothing, but I ain't gonna argue. He carries us in a box and tasks us with infiltrating the main office. Now it's time to buckle into this Solid Snake section, darting past cameras and threading across massive pylons. Colonel, the vibe, it's immaculate.
Soup.
Actually obtaining the core is one of my favorite puzzles. We have to activate these 3 floor switches in the correct sequence to line up the battery and leave it vulnerable for the taking. Congratulations! We have successfully destroyed Midtown's economy. Now all we need to do is meet up with Clementine so that we can boogie on out of here.
No, it cannot be. It's the Jakes!
A little more stealth gets us back into her room where she's left a handful of puzzles. We need to meet up down at the club so all 3 of us can jet. I know time is of the essence here, but hot damn do I love her room. Even in a sunless city, I can only imagine how cozy this spot would be. I bet that lo-fi homework lady lives in this housing.
It's been a decade! Take a break!
Welcome to the club. Unfortunately, there won't be any bottles full of bub. Instead of designer clothes, in the city, the party attire is holographic helmets, a straight upgrade if you asked me. We trick Daft Punk into getting us up onto the rafters so that we can infiltrate that VIP room. Oh, I didn't know it was that kind of club. We've been duped. Blazer took the highest bidder and sold us out to the cops. Well, this sucks. We bust out of the cage and methodically drift through the jailhouse. No jacket, no buddy, pure cat stealth. Meeting up with Clementine, we can no longer understand her. Luckily, she points us in the right direction, and we spring her loose. It was here that I realized you could walk through the robot's legs as they go downstairs and decided that we now live in the future. A silent sneaking section gets us back in contact with B12. A little vandalism is all it takes to make it to the courtyard. With enough time imprisoned, these robots have completely lost their minds. Screens of pure static, never to move. Again? We find the final barrier, jump the fence to open the gate, decide to scratch a tree before we leave, and have my capture card die in the middle of recording, so I have to play the last third of this game again. Looks like Blazer sold us out to El Gato, huh? There's a joke in there somewhere, but I refuse to find it. We dash after the getaway car. The police are hot on our trail as we make our way to the subway. With seconds to spare, Clementine sacrifices herself to give us time to make it out of the city. Hey, in the time it took you to tell me you'll always remember me, we probably both could have left, but I still appreciate you. With the subway gears whirling to life, the conflict comes to a close. This is the walled city, completely untouched by the decay we've toiled through. All you'll find here are robots, like robots, still painting for and speaking with all the people that will never visit. Only now can we see the remarkable journey we've been through shining back through the dusty windows of the control room. After some creative lockpicking, B12 remarks on the disparity between the cities, remembering the unfair life he lived looking up at the fortunate few in the sky. All that matters now is finding a way outside to leave all the pain behind us. By unlocking the system, we trigger the security protocol, every hack of the terminal causing massive damage to B12. We carry our little buddy to the last terminal where we learn the final truth. The only way we can get enough power to unlock the control center is by uploading B12 to the system. Doing this will destroy his software, but that was a choice he already made. It's here that we get our final goodbye from our greatest ally and dearest friend. A rumble comes across the sky. Light pierces the veil of darkness, revealing the faces of all our friends along the way. We awake to a brave new world. The ultimate door finally opens, and we make our way outside.
Don't think I didn't see that shit.
Stray is a story about people without using a single person. It's about loyalty and love, passion and oppression, the world beyond what we can see, and the scant few who fight to see it. It's about the existential and the innate, getting by with a little help from your friends, experiencing all the different ways life can live. By bleeding hearts bumping in mechanical souls, Stray has created a world we have never seen before. A story told through the perspective of a lost cat learning how to get by, just like the rest of us. From here, no matter what sequels or clones we may see down the line, no one will ever be able to make a game that touches the soul of the indie world like Stray did. There will never be another game like Stray, but I'm just happy to live in a world where it exists. A huge shout out to Post Mesmeric for their support on Patreon. If you would like to help out the channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon, joining as a member of the channel, or just joining the Discord to hang out. I don't mind telling you, this video has been in the making for, about a year now. I've rewritten the script 6 or 7 times, but each time I would either get way too in the weeds with every detail, or thinking that I'm going in the wrong direction, but I cannot tell you how great it feels to finally have this done. What's more, I can finally get this uploaded and go and play Tears of the Kingdom, which I have been very patiently waiting to actually get into. If you were looking for content about Tears of the Kingdom or in general news about video games, I do recommend my buddy Manteca. He runs a channel that I find is criminally underrated, so you will find that in the description below. Outside of that, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a great day.